A very good evening, everyone. We're back with the Brews at 10 this Wednesday. Hope you're very well. I'm your host, Lefty, here on my left eye. Let us know how you're doing in the chat. It's great to be back. First stream for a couple of days or so. And yeah, I'm going to be going over what's been happening between now and then. And today's headlines, yes, Octomimic, welcome to the chat. Today's headlines, some breaking news. Sunak's protection officer has been arrested. Be diving into that. As per the title and description, there's been an action by Just Stop Oil at Stonehenge as well. Plus a bit more, latest election updates and so on. And plenty more packed in. Hope you're very well this Wednesday. Do you have a brew? Alright, just wait a few minutes for the chat to fill up and a few more people to arrive. Hope you're well, Octomimic. Great to see you back again. A few more things that are coming up include a Tory donor who's sort of declared his admiration for Keir Starmer and his politics. So that's just one of the many things I'm going to be looking into coming up this evening. So yeah, we've had some new subscribers as well recently. If you're listening to the Brews at 10 for the first time, a very warm welcome to you. And if you're watching on a replay, let us know how you're doing in the comments. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell. Just helps us reach more people. And hope you're all well tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Thanks a lot for the comments on the party focus video, if you like, recently about the Green Party. There's going to be more of those to come as well. Focusing on singular parties in the run-up to the election. We're more or less halfway through the election campaign, so yeah, in the build-up to the final couple of weeks or so, things are going to start to hot up. It's hot as a brew. Brett James, great to see you again. Hoping you're well this evening also. And yeah, we've got a couple of members in the chat, so as always, first of all, I want to give a tremendous shout out and thanks to all of the members on the channel. And if you'd like to join the list of incredible people that you're about to see, then you can do so for just 99 pence. Please do consider supporting the channel with a membership, either for yourself or as a gift to others watching. If you're watching on a replay, you can also use the super thanks or go to the Buy Me a Coffee page. The link for that is in the description of this video, the stream I should say, and the channel as well, so thanks a lot. Glad to hear you well tonight, Brett. And here's a thanks to you and everybody else as well. So that's the most recent updated list. Those of you who joined on the last Sunday live stream as well, it's great to have you on board. And then we'll quickly be going over some clips articles, etc. Yeah, awesome people. Thanks for your support. Really, really genuinely do appreciate that. Let's dive in. First off, just bring the screen up. So we've got this breaking story, yeah. Rishi Sunak's protection officer has been arrested over alleged, it's important to use that word at this stage, I guess, for legal reasons, over alleged date bets. So pretty much, it's not a very complex story. He's placed £100 bets on when the election would be held, apparently using some inside information, obviously, which goes against betting rules, also probably parliamentary rules as well. Just quickly skip through this sort of a hodgepodge update. So there he is. There he is. That's Craig Williams, who I'm sure you'll agree, that's quite the shit-eating grin, and I've seen quite a few in my time. So he says it's a huge error of judgment after allegations that he placed £100 bet on a July election. Most people were expecting one in all small winter, of course. Yeah, so he's part of his close protection team. But it's not the first allegation linked to election date betting we've seen over the course of the campaign. Separately, Tory candidate Craig Williams, who was a parliamentary aide to Sunak last week, apologised and said he made a huge error of judgment after allegations that he placed £100 bet on July election, just 3 days before that was announced, as Sunak stood in the pissing rain. So much skill in terms of forward planning that he didn't even take an umbrella. So that story broke just earlier. So it comes out, these are allegations at the moment, of course. And then Jeremy Hunt came out and effectively admitted defeat, it appears. So he's talking about when the Tories are in opposition, not really showing any sense of optimism whatsoever, or should that just be delusions of grandeur where reality is concerned? I will be going on to a possible adjustment of the current hot questions later on also, about how many seats the Tories could potentially lose. Hunt's not expecting to be voted in again, it certainly appears. So that was, yeah, just those couple of breaking bits of news. And then there's just a bit of yada yada yada. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. So insider gambling is the issue here. Yep. And corruption in the Conservative Party. Won't hear of it. Won't hear of it. So, yeah, let us know what you think about that in the chat. That was Jeremy Hunt. Hunt, that's the name. That's the name. Jeremy Warwick Hunt. Quite right, Octomimic. But there's definitely no corruption in the Tory party. Tongue lodged very firmly into the cheek there. And just while we're on that, let's have the Titanic Sunak and Starmer again. No Woman, No Sky. For those of you who missed that one. Right, I'm going to move on quickly. There's quite a bit to get through. Just wanted to quickly address those breaking bits, those tidbits of news, as it were. So next up, what have we got? Okay. So since I last did a live stream on Sunday, the Reform Party have released their manifesto. I'm sure that's been a lot of fun, but no, really, it's just as expected. Really, it's obviously, like the Tories, very focused on issues such as immigration, but also with Sunak's been trying to sort of potentially pull back more votes from the hard right that perhaps Reform are expecting to gain, but he's been doing that with policies such as bringing back national service and things like that. There's been a bit of a tussle. I think that Reform have been overstating the popularity, definitely in trying to say that they're now the main opposition party, or will be after the next election. I think that's total deluded nonsense. But anyway, they had their manifesto out today. This is just some science, some hard science here with regards to that manifesto. But the issue of immigration came up as well during the leaders' debate on Channel 4 recently. So I'm going to have a quick look at that with you.
If you meet a migrant in the NHS, they're more likely to be treating you than to be ahead of you in the queue. Now, some politicians, and unfortunately the list of which politicians that is getting longer, like to scapegoat migrants for the problems with underfunding public services, when in reality, the cause of that is decades of decisions to underfund those public services.
Carly Denny is quite right there as well, and said before, I've been impressed with what I've seen from the Greens on the media rounds as well as in the live debates recently, and certainly members of the audience agreeing with those points. It's just another tired and worn out scapegoat to be anti-immigration. It's an attempt to spread, racism and xenophobia through society. And then you get arseholes like Richard Tyson, Nigel Farage, trying to pick up votes from these kind of people by stirring up this visceral dog whistling. And Carla Denny is quite right to point it out. The leader for Plaid Cymru also puts in his 2 cents here shortly as well.
By political parties, they could choose to make other decisions. They could choose to make bold decisions about how you pay for public services and how you raise those funds. And the Green Party is the only party in England being honest about that.
Read out yours. Hang on, Richard.
The question is about how to combat hostility. How about these guys stop creating and stoking that hostility in the first place? We need to have an honest debate. Of course, we need to control borders. Every country controls its borders. But to blame migrants for housing, for problems in the NHS, to blame what for public spending cuts that have been
It's called pressure on public services.
By the Conservatives.
If
but
you
what
don't
about the
plan
pressure
for
on
it,
public services
yes, exactly,
caused by a failure to invest in public services? How about
You have to plan, don't
how
you?
about looking at what our actual needs are? What I'd like to do is look at how we have visa powers in Wales, for example, to make sure that we can bring in people into shortage occupations. Give visas to those that we need here.
What about training people in Wales?
Here,
What about skilling up your own people?
We have a great success here, says the Conservative representative on the panel, by cutting the number of visas to people accompanying workers. There has been a 76% drop in visa applications for social care because you have taken that decision. Now, in social care, I don't know who you want to look after you when you're in your old age, but we'll need people to work.
If you meet a
really impressive point, and he's flanked by a Tory and Richard Tice of the Reform Party there as well. So I think he put up a really good point, as well as Carla Denyer there, and just the almost identical wardrobe between the Tory and Tice. It's incredible. We need to focus on the real problems in society. That's the main overriding point there. You've got to blame the cuts rather than trying to scapegoat migrants, because that's, you know, it's pretty low as a political tactic, if you want to put it that way. It's awful. These are the things that you have to go through where people like Farage and Tice are involved. But I'm still, you know, fingers crossed they're going to take a whooping. They're not going to win any seats. Farage's case, it'd be the first time he'd won a seat in Parliament ever, on the 8th try, of course. But just again, it's also Labour now trying to toe this line on immigration. And this, what's the latest one? Smash the gangs. So we got stop the boats and smash the versus smash the gangs, which shows the state that we're in, certainly. But someone who's picked up on this is someone who I really wish every success in his campaign, and it's one of the hot seats as well. Andrew Feinstein was at his local hustings in Holborn St Pancras, where he's standing against Starmer, obviously. So I think there was a student there who posed a question to him about how worried he is, you know, about right-wing parties trying to cook up this hate, this xenophobia, and so on. And I think his response is certainly worth a look. So this is Andrew Feinstein.
If you meet a...
That wasn't Andrew. This is Andrew Feinstein.
MP's position at the moment is, he wrote in the Sun newspaper his views on immigration, which basically I found difficult to identify any differences with Rishi Sunak's position on immigration, which...
Yeah, and just quickly want to come in there and point out, first of all, that the fact that Starmer's writing for that rag is unbelievable. He said during the leadership campaign, and choosed his words very carefully when he said, I will not be doing any interviews with The Sun during my campaign. And now he writes for them, so he's tried to ride off the back politically of people's very well justified dislike for that particular publication, if you can call it that. But now the fact that Starmer is writing for them, Feinstein can't see any distinction between the two. Neither can I.
Is not far from UKIP's position on immigration. I think making, in some way, immigrants and immigration the target of the popular right-wing press in places like The Sun and elsewhere is just an attempt to divert attention from the reality that our politics serve not our communities, but rather the main party's billionaire donors, corporate executives, and senior politicians, most of whom, after serving in office, become incredibly wealthy.
They do while they're in office, and they continue to do so after they leave office. Rishi Sunak and his family have made billions off of fossil fuel contracts alone, and that's that we know of, for example. It's littered with many, many more, of course. Tony Blair is another good example of that. So I hope that the public really see through all of this and start to see the way that we've seen in these clips I definitely hope that Andrew Feinstein defeats Keir Starmer. Not too sure about that. Going to be going into more of the hot seats later on as we get through the stream. But just quickly want to move on to something else now. Did mention that Sunak's family are going to be making quite a lot of money from the new fossil fuel contracts, licenses, I should say specifically. And on that note, we're going to take a look at this action that I mentioned at the top of the stream, and also in the title, the JSO action earlier today at Stonehenge, obviously famous British landmark. So I've got a clip of the action here, and then there's just a quick article. So this is the latest action from JSO. Okay, just want to quickly point out that's cornstarch in there, not any kind of fluid or spray or anything permanent that'll literally come off in the rain. Even, you know, wouldn't even take torrential rain. And obviously animals probably piss all over it all the time anyway, so a lot of people have been, obviously, as they do with these types of cultural actions, as they're known, kick up a bit of a fuss about it, but that is the actual truth of the matter. Just going into a few more details about the about this at Stonehenge. Yeah, I'll just go over. I guess I'll play the clip again on mute and then just talk over it. So that happened at midday today, and it's the day before the summer solstice. It's the summer solstice tomorrow, the longest day. Wiltshire Police confirmed 2 people had been arrested on suspicion of damaging the ancient monument. Obviously, I mentioned it's cornflour and it'll wash away. But the 2 protesters are Neve Lynch, and she's a 21-year-old student from Oxford, and Rajan Naidu, who's a 73-year-old from Birmingham. So that's come out in a statement. And this is where the politics comes in. Let's just pop over to the screen. As well, obviously, JSO's campaign is very political. Climate change should be one of the top concerns within politics. Unfortunately, it's not, and that's why Rishi Sunak has condemned the incident as a, quote, disgraceful act of vandalism. And Keir Starmer said the damage was outrageous, and Keith's described Just Stop Oil as pathetic. Members of the... If you think that's pathetic, Starmer, you should have a read of your own fucking manifesto. Members of the public were heard shouting no and seen running towards to intervene as campaigners run up to the stone circle at the UNESCO World Heritage Site. So Keith obviously hates protest. He's spoken out against Just Stop Oil in the past, but for some reason he's okay with a genocide that's going on, because obviously he's checked which side his palms are greased and so on. A spokeswoman, just back to the article, a spokeswoman for the English Heritage described the spraying of the monument as extremely upsetting and confirmed the site remained open to the public. She said the incident would not affect the annual summer solstice. No. I don't think the alignment of the planets is going to change just because of this. I'm not just needed to point that out. With celebrations still planned to take place overnight on Thursday, well, no. If it rains tonight, or you could just literally rinse it off. So they didn't stop the solstice. I thought that's what she was trying to imply for a moment there. Not the celebrations, obviously, but the actual solstice itself. Like they were going to knock the planet off kilter or change the orbit or whatnot. But this leads, like I said, this leads me on to point out that it's an utter disappointment. It's an absolute tragedy to see the leader of the Labour Party condemning protests as he has done with strikes, etc. in the past, in his effort to win what he sees as Tory votes. He's completely lacking any self-awareness whatsoever that he is literally the person that drove Labour voters towards the Tories in the last election. Touching more on that shortly. Just before, I want to go on to some interesting social media posts that I think are worth a look pertaining to this. Just want to point out that JSO have also said in the statement that the motivation behind the incident is to demand the next UK government end the extraction and burning of oil, gas and coal by 2030. That's not to say a complete halt to oil usage entirely. That is to point out that we've got 10 years of reserves and we need to obviously move over to renewables to try and get CO2 levels down. Goes without saying, but also worth reminding you. And the acid rain will clean the stones of Stonehenge. You're quite right, Octomimic. Thanks for pointing that out. And they will probably still be there after humanity has gone. Certainly will at this rate. Well, the only way that we might not almost entirely be killed or wiped out by climate change might be the fact that societal breakdown might come before that. How exciting. Obviously accelerated by climate change. Last grasps for resources and the worrying rise of right-wing parties in Europe and in other areas of the world. Sound familiar? For those of you who know your history. And Mike Pitts, who's an archaeologist and author of How to Build Stonehenge, said the impact of the action was potentially quite concerning. He's perhaps not expecting as much rain as I am. So the monument has been fenced off for decades and the megalith's surfaces are protected. He said they are sensitive. These rocks are very sensitive, You can't... That's why they're fenced off. You can't even speak too quickly. And like a Hollywood or music star diva, you shouldn't really look the rocks directly in the eyes. They'll get very upset at that. They get very, 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 very pernickety about that kind of thing. They're completely covered in prehistoric markings, which remain to be fully studied, and any surface damage to the stone is hugely concerning. But it's It's cornstarch. So this is all, oh, what's the... you could boil it down to just saying it's bollocks. It's hyperbole, really. It's just pure hyperbole. I'm so worried. Won't anyone please think of the megaliths? So there's been a couple of interesting tweets. This one's from Philip Proudfoot. I don't know if you're familiar with that name, just while that's loading. I'll quickly explain who this guy is. He's a great guy. And that's why I'm giving a shout out to him on the stream tonight and pointing out this comment on social media. But he's the former leader of the Northern Independence Party, which is a grassroots socialist party. He had to step down. I believe he was studying at the same time and pass the baton to somebody else. But what he said about this incident, I think, is really on the nose. Just make an adjustment here. So he's literally more excited about arresting young activists for spraying cornstarch on Stonehenge. This is Starmer, obviously, he's referring to, than he is Benjamin Netanyahu for committing unimaginable crimes against humanity. That's in response to Starmer's earlier tweet. Just there, of course, he says it's outrageous, just appallingly pathetic. Those responsible must face the full force of the law. I'm surprised he managed to get through that sentence without reminding us that he used to be he's the former director of public prosecutions. I'm a lawyer, you know. Vote for Keith. No, don't. Really don't vote for Keith. Also, some great replies to that as well. That one from, who's that? Cricket Outlaw. If they're the original poster on that one. And we've got, yeah, Coot points out there, Stonehenge has stood for millennia. Cornstarch will not harm it as much as pollution from the vehicles passing it daily. Starmer's picking all the wrong fights for all the wrong reasons. Well said, let's give them a like there. Let's give that one a like. Well said, Coot. Starmer always punches down. Yeah. If he does even come through on his environmental pledges, it'll be far too little, far too late. We could have had 5 years of the Green New Deal if it wasn't for this guy. And also I want to point out, just very quickly, as I'm going to remind you very shortly with a clip from Yanis Varoufakis, who pointed out, a few months ago, I think he used a clip of that on a different stream. But the thing about Starmer is, you know, with the Tories, you know what you're getting. You know, you know that they're all bastards, and these are Yanis Varoufakis' words, not mine. But with Starmer, you know, they're pretending to be the good guys, whilst it's all wolf in sheep's clothing kind of stuff, you know. I think that makes it arguably even worse than the Tories. And it doesn't look like many people are trying to back up Starmer, apart from someone with a Union Jack avatar, of course. Right. So that was that action. I you know, obviously there's no harm done there, and whatnot. Regular viewers will know just how I feel about this kind of thing. But I want to take you on to another post from Sol Saniforth. Yeah, I thought this one's worth a look as well. If either Philip or Sol are listening to this stream by any chance, either live or on a replay, give us a shout out. So this is his post. So he's pointed out before that, you know, they are Labour Party, I mean, like wolves in sheep's clothing. And this latest one is kind of his response to the latest manifesto.
The Labour Manifesto 2024. There's simply no money there. What you have baked in there is substantial austerity. Look at the IFS, the
Institute for.
It's going to have to scale up over time for sure, and be more.
But I see nothing in the Labour plans that will create anything other than disinvestment. You know, there is a propaganda talking about it's the economy stupid and creation and so on, and then there are the facts on the ground inside the Labour Manifesto, and I see nothing in it. For instance, they could have cut 5 billion of the super profits of the bankers by tiering the interest rates that the Treasury pays in the context of quantitative easing and quantitative tightening now. Rachel Reeves decided not to antagonize the bankers. So she's happy to put caps on, children's benefit, but not on the super profits of the bankers.
Well, Francis, but
she's not doing anything about capital gains. I mean, why? What is the rationale for having a different rate for capital gains than income tax?
Well spoken, well said, as always. Yanis Varoufakis there. Totally inspirational stuff coming from the Labour Party. Rachel Reeves obviously has played a big part in the manifesto. I think Keith was falling over himself to point out some of the things that she'd personally written, which does show how undemocratic the party's become, as well as a Tory imitation. Tragic stuff when you think about the sort of hope and inspiration from 5 years ago. Or 10 if you want to count it, since Corbyn became elected leader. Anyway, just while we're on the topic of the like-for-likeness between Labour and the Tories, you might have seen this one. John Caldwell, who is a very wealthy Tory donor, has actually come out and expressed his admiration for Keir Starmer and what he's done with the Labour Party. So I've got a couple of bits about that. Just bear with. So yeah, I'm going to play you this one first, an interview, and then something from his from his Twitter that is completely tone deaf. It's unbelievable, considering the austerity and cuts, etc., that have befallen, let's say, most people within this country. Definitely most people within this country under the Tories. So first of all, what he had to say about Keith, and it is no surprise when we've seen Tory defections to the Labour Party, the defectors being welcomed with open arms as well, while there's a continuing purge on the left. So this is John Caldwell.
What Keir has done
as far as I can see, has taken all the left out of the Labour Party, and he's come out with a brilliant set of values and principles and ways of growing Britain in complete alignment with my views as a commercial capitalist.
Not all.
Yes, that's right. Those final few words, they really are spelling it out. I'll just play that again. It's only a brief clip.
What Keir has done, as far as I can see, has taken all the left out of the Labour Party.
He certainly has, and obviously the way that venture capitalists sort of see things being completely detached from reality is that that's a good thing, and that he's on this show able to gloat about it. He's managed to get himself on the television very quickly. So is he trying to send a message to the Tories as well as, you know, unfortunately saying that Labour has gone very, very, very far astray from where it started out as a party?
And he's come out with a brilliant set of values and principles and ways of growing.
Values. You want to talk about values, pal? You know, go to Rafa. Go to Rafa and tell them about Keir Starmer's values. I'm sure that they know about him in Palestine and his links with lobbyists. That's just one example. Values. How about completely betraying his own party twice at 2 elections? Also turning his back on the former leader of the opposition and throwing him under a bus. Although you'd probably want to gloat about that as well, wouldn't you, John? That's quite something. That's quite something.
In Britain, in complete alignment with my views as a commercial capitalist.
Not all.
So yeah, if you're a massive capitalist, then go for the Labour Party. And then you can join Keith in slagging off protesters and people who go on strike and try and fight for a livable future or better workers' rights and conditions, or any other social, economic problem that people might want to protest and use their voices about. Go and throw some mud at them with Keith and Reeves and goddamn Streeting and the rest of them. So the second thing I want to show you, like I said, comes from his own personal Twitter. That's John Caldwell. Yes, I continue to call it Twitter, and I will die on this hill. Just go back to the screen a sec. And okay, so bearing in mind the complete and utter state of society, the country's on its knees economically, millions of people, millions of working people, families are struggling, as are unemployed people, students, self-employed, whatever. This is just so tone deaf, as I said earlier. Look at this tweet. Or do they have to call it a post now? I'll still call it a tweet. Because bollocks to Musk. Anyway. Are you back to work today? This is John Caldwell. My helicopter is an amazing time saver for commuting between my home in London, where most of my business is, to my country house in Staffordshire. Whoever that is that's tagged there, his wife, likes to make the start of my commute an event for the kids. such a homely family, down-to-earth guy. You know, I remember when we used to go and wave off Dad in the helicopter on the way to work. And then we'd go to some posh knob's private school, of course. And that's from a while ago, but these are the kind of people. It's from August 23. But these are the kind of people who you're dealing with. So during the midst of austerity, this is the sort of thing that... I mean, God. I bet the neighbours love him. I bet they love a bit of that. And you have Sunak with his private jets, of course, as well. But what an arsehole. What an arsehole. Sunak's my kind of guy. Because I'm a helicopter commuting, I don't know, fuck peace capitalist. Okay. Let's move on. Let's move on. Well, this does just kind of touch on those same sentiments, of course. Another quick reminder of where we're at in terms of the political spectrum, as it were. And you can see Labour there, right-wing authoritarian, up there towards Reform UK and Conservative, the DUP as well, Lib Dem, not too far behind, just slightly more libertarian, obviously. And then on the left, you have obviously SNP, they're the largest party on the left in Parliament at the moment. Hoping the Greens get some more seats as well. Will the Workers' Party of Britain get any seats? That's something to talk about. Might dive into that very shortly. And Plaid Cymru there, the other party on the left. I pretty much agree with those positions, to be honest. So, moving on to an international matter now, just very briefly. The socialist president of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, was invited to a peace summit in Switzerland that was due to be attended by leaders from all across the world. However, he's declined the invitation, and in this clip you're going to see the reasons he's cited for doing so, which I think is quite admirable, and that's going to also lead us on to global politics, warfare, the climate crisis, etc. As an issue. So for those of you who haven't seen this clip, it's translated. There are subtitles because obviously it's all in Spanish. But this is what he had to say.
Nos estamos acercando a una conflagración mundial. Mientras se agota el tiempo de resolver la crisis climática que puede acabar con todo, aquí las naciones, el poder se dedica a la guerra. Lo que hemos encontrado en relación a la conferencia de paz, entre comillas, en Suiza, es que es básicamente un alinderamiento al lado de la guerra. Y nosotros no estamos de acuerdo con eso. Por eso he decidido suspender mi visita y la invitación a la conferencia en Suiza, porque América Latina no quiere más guerra. Lo que quiere es la construcción de la paz lo más pronto posible, tanto la suspensión del genocidio sobre el pueblo palestino, como encontrar los senderos difíciles de resolver la guerra entre Ucrania y Rusia. Nosotros estamos dispuestos a participar en conferencias que libremente se dediquen a buscar los senderos de la paz y no a construir bloques para la guerra. No estamos con la guerra, estamos con la paz.
Really well said there. Really well said. I wish there were more European leaders. I wish there were more leaders in the United Kingdom who said similar things. But what he's pointing out there, what he's highlighting, is that these conferences, these summits, meetings, etc., are only set up to sort of discuss how to protect the industrial military complex and encouraging, perpetuating wars and conflicts, because all of the same politicians and business persons have their, greedy hands in all of this dirty war money. And it's a very sick game. It's happening across the world, and the usual suspects are obviously thrown in there as well. Like Gustavo says there, you've got the Israeli occupation of Palestine in there. You've got the Russia-Ukraine conflict also that's been, going on for a couple of years or so now. Things are teetering on the brink. Things are looking pretty scary from various perspectives. And he wants to make real progress on that. So why can't we have more of that, please? I just wanted to highlight that statement to you. Fairly recently elected Gustavo Petro there, the president of Colombia. So on the subject of Israel and Palestine as well, I will nippity skippity through this because, yeah, it's 5 to 11. And I can't be on too late this evening. But this is just some of the latest news. I think the last we spoke about this on the channel was of the latest in the ceasefire talks. This is about something else. Obviously, there haven't been any major developments in those ceasefire talks, and perhaps this is one of the reasons for that. So now, I mean, we've seen him throw his toys out the pram so many times and spit his dummy out when he hasn't gotten his own way, but now Benjamin Netanyahu, who's becoming increasingly isolated, has scrapped his war cabinet after certain people walked out. There were disagreements over the strategy of what to do. Even if they were completely successful in a full occupation of Palestine, they were sort of arguing over if there was any strategy first off, and then what the strategy might be afterwards. And Benny Gantz was actually the centrist opposition leader, as I mentioned previously on the channel. At one point, it looked as though the Americans could have been siding with Benny Gantz when it soon became very apparent that Netanyahu was going completely off the fucking rails. I did perhaps suggest that America might be interested in installing Benny Gantz instead, but alas, he's stood down now, and also his ally Gary Eisenkot. So Eisenkot, I should say. Gantz quit 8 days ago, that says. And yeah, his list of allies grows thinner and thinner. The USA said that they didn't want any part in the Rafah offensive. They weren't going to support it militarily, for example. He's also recently had an arrest warrant put out by the ICC, the International Criminal Court, as well, of course. he makes his usual excuses. He points his finger and makes ridiculous accusations about those who challenge him, of course, as always, but this is the latest evidence of that. So yeah, just finally, just like to keep you up to speed with the situation in Palestine. UNRWA has estimated that 65,000 people are still sheltering in Rafah, less than 5% of the 1.4 million people who had been taking refuge there before the IDF began what it described as a limited operation to root out Hamas fighters and dismantle infrastructure used by the Palestinian armed group. They were, of course, attacking refugee camps and so-called safe zones as well. We know that that was complete and utter lies coming from the IDF. It says, with little sign of progress towards a full ceasefire in Gaza, there have been new warnings from the Israeli military that the lower-level conflict with the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah is now threatening to spiral into a wider war. That is true. Touched on that as well on the channel before, about how the entire Middle East could escalate over this situation. This could really go up like a tinderbox. Finally, it says, following a recent intensification in exchanges of fire, a key United States diplomat has returned to the region to try to reduce tensions on the Israel-Lebanon border. And that is, of course, where Hezbollah fighting against Israel also. So that's the latest on that. Obviously, still a terrible humanitarian crisis there. And we're seeing some absolute atrocities carried out by that person on your screen. Someone who is campaigning in the election, really trying to focus on this issue of the occupation of Palestine in one of our hot seats, which I'm going to quickly move on to, is Leanne Mohammed, who is standing in Ilford North. That's Wes Streeting's seat. She's released a campaign video that we're going to take a look at now, and then we'll have a bit of a update on the latest hot seats and also hot questions, possibly as well. So let's just go back to clips 1 sec, and I really hope that she's successful in defeating Wesley. I mean, God knows what'll happen to the NHS if he gets his hands on it.
Meet some of the wonderful volunteers on my campaign who are supporting me become the next independent Member of Parliament for Ilford North, starting with my amazing volunteer, David.
Oh, I just quickly want to say, I'm gonna play this with the volume on, but yeah, hopefully, I've not checked on the background music that's in this clip. So if you're watching on a replay and it is muted, apologies. It's just because I've had to do that because there's been a copyright match or something like that. So hopefully that won't be the case.
Hi, I'm a resident of Ilford North. I've been living here for 22 years. I think the first 11 years was Conservative. The second 11 years was Labour. And all I've seen is my area just go downhill. Everything has got worse, and I mean in every single dimension. I'm totally unhappy about everything. And when I think about what's happening in Gaza, and I also see there's no humanity whatsoever from either of these parties. And it's nothing to do with being Muslim, it's nothing to do with being Jewish or Christian or atheist. It's about humanity. And they're not showing any. They don't have any. So we're fighting to get Leanne as a Member of Parliament because we need to change this.
Meet Arab.
Hi, so I'm one of the volunteers working in Leanne's team, and I believe this is time for change. You know, we've had the two parties, we've had Labour, we've had Conservatives, but we have no one who's going to represent us. So it's about time we've got somebody who can represent us in the House of Parliament and take the views of the people of Ilford North. So vote for Leanne.
Meet Callum.
Hi, how's it going? My name's Callum. I'm here to support Leanne because right now in Ilford North we have an MP, West Streeting, who is hell-bent on privatising the NHS regardless of the cost. We've seen how privatisation has worked in other areas. Thames Water pleading poverty while at the same time paying out millions of pounds to their shareholders. This would mean delivering services that don't put the needs of patients first, but rather the profits of private shareholders. That's why I'm here supporting Leanne Mohammed.
And meet Kasim.
Hi, so my name's Qasim. I'm part of the canvassing team for Leanne. We're just trying to get as many people to understand what it is that she can do for the community. You know, we went to the same school, so she's very local, and she's sort of done a lot more for us right now than what we've been having the last few years. And we're trying to sort of spread that message, get as many people as we can in. You know, we all know how the last few years have been, and we just need a change. All of these Tories and the Labour, it's not going the way we want it to go. So if we get someone independent in, like Leanne, it would be brilliant.
So how many more weeks to go?
5 weeks. We can win this. I need your support. This is a movement. It's a movement that is only growing, and we need you to join us. We're here, we're on the ground in Ilford North. We're ready to serve. Are you ready to join us?
So Leanne's taking on Wesley Streeting in Ilford North. I'll wish her every success, of course. And they are great people. You're quite right, Octo. Mimic for getting behind the local socialist, independent or grassroots candidate, and also the Green candidates as well. So if you're listening in that constituency, please do consider lending her your support, or if you're in a nearby area that's not too far away from Ilford North. And that is, of course, one of the hot seats. This is the now updated list. That's one of the things I've enjoyed a lot about doing more live streams and stuff lately, is that, and there are going to be a lot more to come as well, but in interacting with you guys, being able to throw my suggestions out there and get some live feedback's really good, as well as in the comments for my suggestions on hot seats and why I think that some of them are definitely worth a look. I mean, it ranges from wanting an unexpected result all the way to just sort of, I don't know, some of them have a little bit of comedy value thrown in there, a little bit of irony thrown in there, but also, and perhaps most importantly, we're trying to keep an eye out for a rise in independent and Green candidates, as we saw in the local election. And current projections are certainly predicting a few things like that. So this is the latest on the hot seats list. So the two new ones, of course, those of you who aren't familiar, I'll just quickly go through those. Chingford and Woodford Green, hoping goes to Shaheen, who is a former Labour candidate, but now someone else has been parachuted in from miles away. Bristol Central could go to the Greens, thinking Islington North. Looks as though that really is almost neck and neck at the moment, according to a poll though, between obviously Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour candidate. Corbyn standing as an independent. Bristol Central is on there twice. I don't know. Sorry, I will adjust that. I don't know why it's on there twice. Apologies. Ilford North, we've just been through. Rochdale, just wondering if Galloway will hold on to that one or not. Just sort of out of interest, piquing my curiosity. Holborn St Pancras is obviously Starmer's seat with Andrew, the aforementioned Andrew Feinstein. Birkenhead is one of the new additions where the Greens are currently neck and neck with Labour, and Clacton is going to be Farage's seat, which, you know, hopefully he'll be kept away from gaining. So that's the latest on the hot seats list. Do keep any suggestions coming in. For anything that you think's worth keeping an eye on, either in terms of a sort of shock handover, or in terms of socialist candidate gains. So at the moment, these are the current hot questions, but thinking of a bit of an adjustment here. So will the Tories lose 100 or more seats, considering actually increasing that number to perhaps at least 150, possibly more? That's the main thing I wanted to throw out there. Just going over the numbers again. So, in terms of the Tory majority, parliamentary majority, in the 2019 election, they had 365 seats, with Labour having 202. Now, the Tories have 344 and Labour have 205. That's the latest from when Parliament was prorogued before the last, before the election campaign started, I should say. Obviously, there have been lost by-elections and such from the Tories. That number 365 has been whittled down a little. But there's been defections as well over to Labour in a few cases, as we've pointed out on the channel, and that's why they've increased by 3 seats. But if the Tories lose 100 seats, around 100 seats, as the original question suggests, I'm just wondering, obviously that would imply that there could be a hung parliament, depending on where these losses go, obviously. That's a factor. But with 150 plus seats, you'd have to at least expect Labour to get in with a minority, not with a supermajority or anything. Will they break Gordon Brown's record of 91 seats? Yeah. I think that looks very likely at the moment. So it's just a matter of how far over 100 it could possibly be. Just saying, will the Tories lose 100 plus seats seems like a bit too much of an easy question at the moment now. So let us know what you think about that as well. And also, with the other question, will Lib Dem therefore become the main opposition party if there's a wipeout? I think one suggestion said that the Tories might end up with around just 70 seats or something like that, which I think might have been going a little bit far. That also implies that they're expecting Lib Dem to come out with more than 70 odd seats. I'm not too sure about that one either. Not too sure. But I'd love to know your thoughts as always, whether it's in the live chat or the comments. Thanks a lot, Jenny BN, for joining us in the chat this evening also. Hope you're very well this evening. Also great to see some returning members on the channel as well. I'm going to have to start to bring things to a close, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, on tonight's Brews at 10. Before I do though, as always, I want to say a very, very massive thank you to all of the members. The people you're about to see on your screen are incredibly awesome for continuing to support the channel, and also special thanks to those of you who've gifted memberships to other viewers recently. That's a fantastic way to show solidarity. So yeah, all of these people, thanks so much. Just going to play the intro. Alright, sorry, just had a malfunction on my mic there. We're just saying keep an eye on your notifications and everything. I'll let you know if there's going to be Brews at 10 tomorrow. Just also saying thank you once again for those of you who subscribed recently. Really does mean a lot to have you on board on the channel as well. So hope you have a great day tomorrow. Take care, everybody. My Lefty, I'll be seeing you soon.